How we doing, folks? My name is Scott Moore and you are watching W.A.C Outdoors. I'm going on a hog hunt this evening. I'm going to bring you along with me, and before we get close to my hunting area, I decided I would stop and explain to you briefly what we're doing here. You can see behind me there's a big bottom. I'm on a ridge here that runs out about 400 yards, and there's a saddle in this ridge. I got a group of really big hogs that are crossing back and forth through this saddle from one bottom, so to speak, into another swamp. And I'm not a big fan of baiting, but the only way that I've found to set up a good shot on these hogs is to put corn out and get them coming to it and force them, based on geography, to come into a place where I can be in a stand, keep the wind in my favor, and force them to come into a good opportunity for me to have a shot. So you just come along with me. We're going to ease out on this ridge and get in this stand and see if we can't get these hogs to come in before dark and get a shot at them. Last night we shot a hog. It was a successful hunt. The shot looked really good. I feel that we won't have any trouble recovering this hog, but I have learned from past experience to get in there and film as I go, and talking and making noises and setting the camera up. I literally have run off the remaining hogs, and after that one successful kill, I have never seen another hog in that area again. So I've learned to be a little bit smarter in the way that I hunt these hogs. So we're going to get in here real quiet and try to recover this hog and get it out of the woods. And if that proves to be, I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to discuss with you the equipment that I'm using and tell you why. Every time I shoot a video, I have a lot of inquiries as to the arrows I'm using, the broadheads, the bows, knives, whatever. So I thought this time I would just take a minute and tell you what I'm using and why. So you come along with me. We're going to be super quiet. We're going to ease in here and see if we can't recover this hog. I thought I'd take just a second and show you the reality of the way that I hunt. I don't have a four-wheeler. There's no way in the world to get back in here except by foot. That's how we're getting into these big hogs like this. I can't drag this hog. I have no idea how much it weighs. The only way I can get it out is to cut it up. So we're going to butcher this hog just like we're hunting out west. We're going to pack it out of here. Well, that was quite a big job getting that hog out of the woods. I'm not able really to weigh that thing. I have no idea how much it weighed. I have killed several hogs that weighed over 200 pounds that I was able to drag out of the woods by myself. And as you saw, I absolutely could not move that hog. But anyway, it was a successful hunt. I'm very excited about it. It's pretty exciting stuff. But as I promised, I'm going to just show you real quick the equipment I'm using and pay proper tribute to the fine traditional craftsmen and businessmen that are providing me with this gear. First and foremost, I am using a Big Jim buffalo bow. This is a 60-inch bow. It's 52 pounds at my draw length. Jim made this bow for me last year. Again, Big Jim's Bow Company. He's out of Albany, Georgia. He's a fine gentleman, and I just really respect him, the way he runs his business, and he makes a real fine bow. The bow quiver that I'm using is an Eagle Flight archery quiver made by Don Ward out of North Carolina. Don makes a real fine strap-on bow quiver. It's real small, it's lightweight, keeps your arrows in a real compact situation here, and I just love his quivers. They do a real good job for me, and even though the hood on this quiver is relatively small, it is deep enough that I don't have any trouble keeping my broadheads completely covered up. And moving along to the broadheads, you know, when we're hunting these bigger pigs like this, boy, if your stuff is faulty, if your tackle, your broadheads, your arrows, your inserts, anything that you have, if there's a weak spot in your system, these big hogs are going to show you where that is very quickly, because they're stout animals, they're big boned, and it takes some pretty significant equipment to take them. And my broadhead of choice, and it has been for years, is the Grizzly broadhead that is made by Bill Dunn up in Ohio. I just really appreciate the effort that Bill puts in to crafting a fine product. His quality control is bar none the best. The grind and the bevel on these two-blade single-edge broadheads is really something. For those of you that are not familiar with the attributes of a single beveled broadhead, they just do a wonderful job. I have just been thrilled to death with results on these big hogs. I went old school on this hunt. I do a lot. I was shooting cedar arrows. I was shooting a cedar arrow that I probably made 20 years ago. But they're good straight arrows, they're good sturdy shafts, and you know, I'll give you one little, I guess you can call it a tip if you want. You know, when I recovered this arrow, it just did not look like I got very much penetration at all. There's only about 2 inches of this arrow plus the broadhead that's missing. And that would give you the indication that there just absolutely was no penetration at all. But what happens very often in these animals, especially these big stout hogs, this arrow passed into the rib cage. It perfectly centered the heart, and you know, real down low in an animal's brisket, they are just not that big from side to side as you would think. And oftentimes where this shaft breaks and backs out is well inside the chest cavity. So I would estimate that this arrow got a good 8 inches of actual penetration even though I got almost all the arrow back, and it proved very effective on that hog. That hog went approximately 80 yards. Of course, it died on its feet. I really count on these two-blade, single bevel broadheads to give me the penetration that's required on these big hogs. And also, for some of you that aren't familiar with how the single bevel works, the wound channel that this broadhead creates in these bigger animals is more like an S shape than just a slit, and it keeps the blood hitting the ground, and it does a real good job of actually literally breaking bone out of the way instead of slicing into it and being stopped. So again, for those of you who just are curious and want to know, I'm shooting a Big Jim buffalo bow. This bow is a 60-inch bow. It is 52 pounds at my draw length. I'm using an Eagle Flight bow quiver that Don Ward up in North Carolina makes, and I am absolutely all the way shoot and hunt with Grizzly single beveled broadheads that Bill Dunn makes up in Ohio. And I will tell you that he is working on a 3-blade head that he will have on the market very soon called the Instinct. I'm excited to get a hold of that head and see how it performs on these hogs. So as always, I want to thank the Lord for this hunt. He blessed me with a fine animal and a quick recovery. I give him all the praise and glory. And this is Scott Moore from W.A.C Outdoors, and I hope to run into you sometime out on the trail.